The following video was sponsored by the Greek American Heritage Society of Philadelphia, preserving and promoting our community's history.
So in every community, there are those people that give of themselves, that make the community work. They are the cogs in the wheel. Today we're going to speak to somebody from our community here in suburban Philadelphia, Despina Zantopoulos, who's known as Bessie. Bessie's been a member of several churches in our community, different organizations including the Philoptochos, the Pondian Society. Bessie, welcome to Cosmos Philly.
Thank you. I'm honored that you have come here to ask me questions about my life, and I hope that I can fulfill whatever it is that you need to do.
Well, let's talk first about growing up in Philadelphia. Tell us a little bit about where you were born and raised.
I was born in Massillon, Ohio. I came to Philadelphia when I was 40 days old. My relatives, my father worked in Ohio before we got to Philadelphia. And he and my two uncles, Bill Williams and John Halkitis, worked together. Bill Williams came here to Philadelphia and opened some restaurants, and my father worked in the restaurant after that. They had their own restaurant with Mr. Halkitis, who was also my father's nephew. His mother was my father's sister, the eldest of the Halkitises. And John Halkitis was my godfather.
Well, you were baptized at St. George, I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your family and its involvement at St. George and the Philadelphia community on there.
Truthfully, I can't tell you too much because I was a baby. And I don't remember being there that long. We later moved to West Philadelphia, and I went to school in West Philadelphia and went to Holmes Junior High. From there, I went to Bartram, John Bartram High. So my whole life that I remember was in Philadelphia, growing up. So you were in the Greek community. Okay. And that was in West Philadelphia around 52nd and Market, all the way down to Upper Darby.
Okay. So you were part of that history around the St. Demetrius, Upper Darby area. Right. Would you say your family was one of the first founding families of St. Demetrius? Exactly.
Yes, they were.
Tell us a little bit about growing up then at St. Demetrius and your experiences there.
Okay, we called her Yaya because this was my father's oldest sister. She brought him as her child, with her child, to America because he could not come on his own. And she raised them, and they were my aunt, which we called Yaya because we didn't have a Yaya on that side, was an integral part of West Philadelphia. Everybody knew her. If they had a need, she was right there. She knew what they wanted. She would go begging for coal, and coal was the heating element that they used at that time in the houses. She would know if they were down and out, if they didn't have food, if they didn't have money, and she somehow would go knocking on doors and asking people for help.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you. There was something else that was special about her. First, tell us her name, and tell us who she was in the community besides the great deeds that she did. Isn't she the same person I think you mentioned that was one of the founders or the founder of the Pondian
Society?
Yeah, tell us a little bit. First tell us her name.
Her name was Elpida Halkidu.
And she came from where?
She came from Ordu.
Ordu in Turkey.
In Turkey.
She was part of the Pondian community.
Right. And that was part of the genocide. They came to Thessaloniki, and from Thessaloniki they came to America. And that's how she brought my father as her child.
And she's one of the founders
of the society. Akriti on Market Street. Yeah, 63rd and Market. She gave $1,000 for that building. They went, and all the Greek Pontians that she knew in the area, Upper Darby area, and I will say mostly from Market Street going down to the St. Demetrius Church where it is now, they were all Greek, and I'd say 90% Pontians there.
Wow. Do you remember going to the Pontian house early on back then? Yeah.
Yes. She would have us come and clean, doing things for them, and we did it willingly because it was a house that belonged to everybody.
Let's backtrack a little bit. Your family history is then directly from Thessaloniki via Ordu, Turkey. Can you talk a little bit about your parents' background?
My mother and father were from Ordu, Gerasunda, and then they were neighbors. They came, they were young when they came, but they married people that they knew and people that were in their neighborhood. And my father and mother were neighbors, so they knew each other when they moved to Philadelphia. Of course, when we came to Philadelphia, my Uncle Bill Williams had an apartment for us at 61st and Market. Halkitis, Mr. and Mrs. Halkitis, John and Simela Halkitis, which were my godparents, and my aunt, which was our Yaya, Elbida Halkitis, Alexandra Williams, Bill Williams, my mother and father, Paul Vassiliadis, and myself lived in one apartment.
Wow.
Until we got situated. And when my mother was expecting her second child, my father decided it's time for us to get out of here. There was too many people in the house. And we always, I can't remember one day that we did not have a company. The other Pontians would always come to that house because my grandmother was there, and she was an integral part of the Pontians in Upper Darby. If they needed something, and if they needed help, or if they wanted to talk about something, they would go to her. They trusted her, and they all idolized her. When she died, it was the worst snowstorm, but we never saw so many people in our lives, and they would tell us, we knew her this, she did this for this, she did for that. And I was a young lady then, and I would say, oh my gosh, we didn't know she did all those things.
Well, you were pretty involved in another way that I saw. There was a historic black and white photograph in a Pontian album of you with a band.
Right.
Can you talk about that photograph and your involvement?
The Pontian Society grew. The Pontians would come there like Saturday, Sunday after church, come get a cup of coffee from in there. They would make a cup of coffee for everybody, sit down there and talk. And one day there were a lot of younger Pontians. Mr. Papadopoulos Elia, who is deceased now, and most of his children, the only one that's living is the oldest one, Harry, who was a doctor. And they would all come to that Pontian house. Canetis, Lycopolis, I mean, I could go on and name.
Okay, tell us, and that photograph, you're in a band of some sort.
Or Fefs. They started that because I would play the guitar, my sister played the mandolin, Elpis played the piano. Elpis was Elpis's Halkitis, the founder of that building and of the Pontian Society, her granddaughter. The pride and joy of grandmother. And she had a brother, Theodore, he played the violin, and Harry, who was the youngest, didn't play anything at the time because he was too young. And a lot of the members had children who played an instrument. And somebody who stuck in there, they crawled in there, I don't know how they got in there, Marion Papouris. She got in there because she was a young girl, Elpis's age, and a very good friend of Elpis, and she said she wanted to be a Pontian. And they said to her, okay, come. And Mr. Pappas got a Paul Carriga, if you remember Paul Carriga. Yes. He was a musician, and he taught us how to play the instruments, and he got the band together. And we did play, and in one Corosperida that we had, the Pontian Society had a Corosperida every year, and one Corosperida that we had, he had me sing a couple of songs. I don't remember what they are right now, but...
I can't ask you to sing one either.
No, no, thank you.
How long did the band last?
About 5 years, and then we all got older, moved. you know, couldn't do it. So it disbanded.
How many people are in your family? Tell us who they were and how big your family was.
Okay, my mother and father, my Paul and Sophia Vassiliadis. Paul and Sophia Vassiliadis had 5 children. I was the eldest. Bessie Zantopoulos married George Zantopoulos. The day of my graduation, I was 18. They decided that I was going to get married.
At 18?
At 18, yes. I wasn't quite 18. And my father's name day was June 29th. He was Paul Pavlos. And they decided that they had a groom for me. And when my father came to tell me that I was going to marry George Zantopoulos, who was a cousin of ours, with his brother, they used to come every summer, and we thought they were a pain in the neck. Because my mother, oh yeah, my mother would yell at us, "Natimate tu singenisas," you know, be nice to your relatives. And I said, they're a pain in the neck. And she would say, "Siopi," you know, "Dos tomas." That was my favorite expression from my mother, "Dos tomas."
Is there one from your father too?
No.
No, but mom stands out.
Yeah, my father was very kind. My mother, every year she had a name day party for him that was unbelievable. All of the Greeks that I know, and the Pontians were over special. They would plan this. It was so hot, June 29th, and we had no air conditioning in our home. We had large fans, and we had a lot of people coming in and out, and she would cook for a week. Dolmades, and everything was fresh. Everything we had to go help. Go get this, go do that, you know, clean the house good. And every Saturday we had to clean the house from up to top to the bottom. We'd clean the house, and but special for June 29th. And this year, my father said, "You're going to get engaged on that day." I don't want to get engaged. I don't want to get married. I want to go to school. I want to learn how to drive. I want to go to work. And he said, "Well, you know, this is very nice. He's a member of our family. He's a cousin, and I know, but we know the family. His mother and I are first cousins. I'm not marrying a cousin." And he said, "Oh, you are." And my Aunt Alexandra Williams came to me and she said, "Oh, we're going to get you a nice ring," and you know, and of course that helped a little bit, but not a lot. When I saw the size of the diamond, and 2 of my girlfriends, Mary Maciris and Irene Rentzis, got big diamonds, I said, "I'm not marrying him." So they said, no, you know, he's very nice, and I loved my Aunt Alexandra. I would do whatever she wanted. So I said, "Okay, I'll get engaged." Well, he came. "Would you iron my shirt?" No. My mother was horrified. "How could you say no to him, you know?" "Very easy," I said, you know. My sister said, "I'll iron it." I said, "Go ahead, you know. You want to iron it? Iron it." He would say, "Can you get me water?" He would be painting something outside, and I would pay no attention. I was so bad.
Hard to get.
No, it wasn't that. I didn't want to get married. 18 years old, I had all the right.
What convinced you in the very end?
He was very kind.
He was a good guy.
Yeah, he was a good guy. It was okay after a while, you know. But we couldn't go anywhere. Don't do this, don't do that. That was their favorite expression, you know. "Oh, you want me to get engaged? We can't go to the movies." My sister had to come with us. You know, it was horrible.
It was much more formal back then.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my God, they had to know everywhere we went. I would go to take him up to the train station. He would take the elevated, and we lived on Sansom Street. From Sansom to Market Street, my sister and my other sister used to have to come with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very protective.
So your family was now settled into America. It was probably, what year shall we say? The 50s, 60s?
No, the late 48, 49. I finished, yes, I finished high school in 48. And we settled in West Philadelphia. We lived there until my parents moved to Florida, and I moved from Sansom Street, which was predominantly Greek from 57th to 63rd, where Cobbs Creek Parkway is, Greek families all over.
Everywhere, right?
You could not walk down that street without saying hello, hello, hello.
Wow.
You know.
Wow. So what was it like for you living there? And I mean, it was the boom for the Greek American community in the old city area. St. George was there. All the shops were there. What was life like for you going to shop and, you know, being part of that community?
Well, in the beginning, we continued to go down to South Street, and we would go down every Saturday. But then it got to be too much because my mother had other children. My father was working many, many hours, and we shopped around 60th Street because Market Street had a lot of Greek places that we could shop too, and Jewish places. That was predominantly the mixture. So it was good because we met up with everybody, we knew each other, and you couldn't walk a half a block without seeing a Greek family.
Well, and that was all in the 50-something block to 60-something block, more West Philly. So the transition was starting to happen even back then in the late 40s.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Now take us forward then to Upper Darby, when everybody was starting to move in that direction. St. Demetrius was growing, the Cafeneos were coming into play, the Pundian House was coming into play. Tell us a little bit about that.
Powell Lane was a mixture of just, I'd say predominantly Greek. Every other house was Greek. And and a lot of Pontians on that street, a lot of Pontians. I think the Pontian house, Iakriti, moved there, and a lot of people wanted to be around it. They had some draw there, and they would just go in and, you know, sit and have a cup of coffee and talk with their fellow people. Holidays, we were not allowed out. We had to go to church first, and then you could do whatever they said they were going to do for that day.
And that was when St. Demetrius was getting ready to make the transition from West Philadelphia over the creek to Upper Darby, where it is today.
Exactly.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that was a little bit of a problem because they rented a church also on 63rd Street, which was not a Orthodox church, but we used to go to church there until they built St. Demetrius. My husband had a very big part in that, along with my Uncle Bill Williams. They collected money from people house to house.
Well, let's talk about that. So your husband was out actively soliciting people to help donate for the church's move.
He was treasurer.
He was treasurer at the time. And this is when the church was still on the other side of the parkway.
Right, and they were trying to get money to start the proceedings for building.
And I think if historically people know that there was a difficult decision made where the church was going to be relocated to.
Well, my Uncle Bill wanted where the Armenian church is in, what is that? Lancaster Avenue, near Lancaster Avenue.
30, up here?
Right, right. And they should have taken that, but you know, they didn't. They all agreed. Yes, they all agreed on. It was closer because there were a lot of Greek people there in Upper Darby. Yes, yes. People walked to church. You would see them with their families going to church. It was a very nice feeling.
Yeah, I heard there were picnics in the park underneath behind the church back there, where and there's horse stables further down. A very different time. Everything was more walkable. People communicated a lot more. Okay, do you remember maybe the holidays, what it was like in the community? People kind of kalenda in the community. You know, people got out on the street and
we had kalenda like the Pontian Society does today. They take them to houses. We didn't have to go in cars.
Right.
We walked. We walked, over hill, all those streets in Marlborough Road. Yes, yes. We walked, and it was predominantly Greek people.
Yeah. It's an incredible community right there within like a 6 to 8 block radius, right? Right. Well, let's talk a little bit now about your involvement with the Philoptochos, because you've been, it's one of the many organizations, or it's the organization you've been involved with throughout your life,
yes.
Whichever church you were involved in. Because, like I said, you know, baptized at St. George, a member of Upper Darby, St. Demetrius, a member of St. Luke. You left for a while and lived in Florida for 25 years, but you were always part of the Philoptochos.
Right.
We'll talk about that a bit.
I treasure the time that I spend with Philoptochos. I started with being one of the first presidents of St. Demetrius. We had an accumulation of ladies like Billy Angelis. Her daughter is now, well, she was president, and they have a new president now, I forget her name, but they're doing very, very well over there. From there, I went to Florida. I was president of the Philoptochos there for many years because my priest there and I got along very well, and he said, run for president. I said, no, I'm not going to run for president because I don't know too many people here. Run for president. Okay, he put my name in. I ran for president. I got to be president 8 years in a row, and then I said, enough. It's not in the bylaws for me to run anymore. You have to stand by them, he said, and it's going to disappear. When I moved here, I was president of Philoptochos back again in St. Demetrius, and then when I was in St. Luke's, I was already on the board at the metropolis and the main center of the church in New York, so I did not want to run for president. That was not fair to do that. When I was in Florida, we had 20 people the first time, and I would stop people at church and say, you must join Philoptochos. We need more women. We'd like to see you at our next meeting. We're going to send you a letter. Please come.
Well, what is it about Philoptochos for you? What makes the organization so special?
Well, let me tell you what we did in Florida, because I had a very, very good relationship with the priest there. We decided that they had a building that was right next to the church, and it was empty. Rent it. We don't want to rent it. Well, we're going to use it then. The first part will be a library, where you could sell your books and anything else for the church. And the second part of it will be our Philoptochos office. We got our Philoptochos office. Well, you're going to pay rent? Well, when we can, we'll pay rent. People brought us furniture for our office. Mr. Cantonis was one of our largest contributors there. A very wealthy man that up to the last minute, he gave and gave and gave. If I saw him, he always had his checkbook out. Do you need money? No. When we do, we'll call you. We had such a relationship with the people there. They loved Philoptochos. They came. We had 250 people after I started asking for help. And we got help. We went to the community and we said, we need to help the people in our community. We have some people that don't have money to buy their food, medicine, rent, you know, they need help. Okay, so we set up a program. Anybody that came in had to bring in canned goods, our office. And once a month we had a big barrel right outside the office, and they would put in there. We also went to Publix, which is a big supermarket there. And I said, I'd like you to contribute. We have to write to our office. No, we're not going to write. We're going to go to the main office, which is 2.5 hours away. We went away. We got coupons. They did it. And it was a good advertising thing. We had a Sunoco station across the street. We had motels across the street. Epiphany was one of the biggest things. People would be coming down for Epiphany, driving through Tarpon Springs. Anybody that came into our office got help. If you needed help, you had to fill. In the beginning, we didn't do this, but then we realized we have to. People were coming in 2-3 times a week from the other churches. I went to all the churches in the area, the Baptist church, the Catholic church, the Presbyterian church, whatever churches we had. And we are having a meeting at our church this day, and we'd like your priest to come. We'd like you people that are very involved with your church to come to this meeting. We had a meeting with them. Thanksgiving, the first Thanksgiving, we had 300 people around our church that were getting a turkey dinner, a whole turkey. They would come in and we would put their name on a card, address, telephone number, and everything. Anybody that got anything from us, we had to know what they got from our office.
Yeah. It certainly sounds like your life's been at a level of devotion to community and service.
Yes,
Where do you think that comes from historically? Is it somehow the way you were raised? Your grandmother?
I wanted to emulate her in every way. She was well known for giving to the poor. I felt that I had to do this. I love what I'm doing. I love working with the people. I worked for hospice for 18 years, free. I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid for what I do. But my gas allowance is horrible anymore. My son says, you gotta stop this. I says, when I die, you can stop it. I'm not going to. This is what I wanna do. I wanna work for my church. I wanna work for hospice. I was at the Ronald McDonald House. I worked at the Children's Hospital, CHOP. That's what my life is. You don't want to get married? You don't want to get engaged? No, no, that's what I want to do. And that's my life. I love it.
So the question actually then is, you've been doing this for a lifetime. Now you're at St. Luke's, and you're still part of the community in general. Summarize it for us. Your devotion still in the community, what you do every day. You have a group of other ladies your age that are, that go out every day or two. You guys go to St. Luke's and you continue on with these deeds.
Well, we go to the Broomall rehab right across the street from the church every Wednesday. I had a very good senior outreach program, very good. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter, people in our community that we know about, and Father gives us the names or we hear about them, and everything we do in our St. Luke's community, we pass it by Father. I don't want to have a problem. I don't want to have a problem with Father, the women, the Philoptochos, because we're part of Philoptochos, okay? And they have to know what we're doing. And I have given that job to somebody else now. And we're going to see how it works. I listen and I tell her what to do. And if she does it, fine. If she doesn't, I still go every Wednesday to the nursing home. There's people in there that don't see anybody. Their children put them in there and they never come to see them. Greek people, yes. We have about 10 people in there. Now I want to work on something, and I have to talk to fathers about it. And I said plural, fathers, because we have some people in there from St. Luke's, we have some people from St. Demetrius, we have some people from St. George. So, but I want to talk to my priest first, Father Chris. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. He understands what I'm doing. He likes what I'm doing. And I think it's important to go there more often. I think it would be very nice if they could have a little service in there one time every 2, 3, 4 months, whatever. One of the priests could go in once a month and give them communion. That has never happened. We're working on it.
Right.
So it's going to happen. It's going to happen, or I'm not going to happen.
You've received, recognition, numerous awards from your community, from your church, from congressmen. They've recognized you for all this work you've done. Is there one final project, or is there, it sounds like you're telling me there's a project still that you want to achieve. Can you tell me a little bit more about this project, or there's?
I'd like our priests to go into the nursing homes more often and visit our people. I'd like that very much. I know they're busy. They're very busy. Father I don't know about the other parishes, but St. Luke's is a very big parish. Very, a lot of funerals, a lot of weddings, a lot of people need help. I take the people that I'm going to help that I can't work with too much because I don't have money to spend like that. But if I need a lot of money, I go to my philoptikos. And we talk it over. We discuss what we're going to do with Father, and he talks to the people that are involved. I would never spend our money on something that I thought is important if I didn't go to them. Because maybe I think it's important, but maybe they don't agree. So we have to go over. But they always agree with whatever I bring to the board. We have several people in our community that contribute to our senior outreach program. I've never had to beg for money, never. They come up to me and say, do you need money? And I go, no, you give it to the church, you give it to Philoptikos, you give it, you know, what else do we need?
The one thing that you'd like to see in the community that changes, to have the priests be more actively involved with these outreach programs, visit the senior homes and get out there. Well, always a life of devotion to the community.
Do you see what they're doing in St. Thomas?
The community center next door, the senior center, yeah. It's just about done.
Yes.
Just about done, yeah.
Go see it. I would love to go see it. But then I'm going to start over here. and that's not doable.
Final thoughts, comment about the community?
I'm very, very fortunate to have a priest that understands me. I'm very fortunate to have the women that work with me and work diligently the way they do. My Philoptikos is the best. They are.
You know what I like is that you mentioned that you have a small team, an enclave that starts out from here. Can you tell us about that, what it's like living here with some of the other women and your little team?
We have Penny Mattis, which is downstairs, and we bug her about that all the time. And Ann Lagos, who is, these are all women from St. Luke's. Aunt Lagos, who is at the end of the corner, and Helen Tomaccio, his 2 doors down from me. And we get together, we discuss our own things, we church things, and we have fun, we have coffee together.
And you're all part of that Philoptikos team.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes, they are.
So you guys carpool over to the church?
We go together. If it's dark, the oldest one drives. I wasn't allowed to drive for a long time, but the oldest one drives.
And you're watching out for each other?
Yes, we do. If we go shopping, they knock on my door if I need anything, and I do the same thing when I go. And we have some elderly people in here that we try to help. So they're not Greek, but it doesn't matter, you know, they're people.
I want to thank you for talking with us at Cosmos Philly. We wish you the best of luck at St. Luke and with the Philoptikos.
Thank you, they're the best.